The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
What's going on, y'all? Your boy E-Buck in the building. You know what time it is. It's Wednesday night. So as we do mostly every Wednesday, it's time to talk sports. Gametime Audible, we call it. I am one of your hosts, Eric Butler, the Nighthawk, also known as E-Buck, and several other monikers. And then, of course, there is the man with the master plan in this game. That dude in that Honolulu blue and silver shirt right there. At least it look like that. You, the sports guru, what's going on?
What's good, man? Everything all right?
Hey,
I'm just glad
we have issues, but we about to let that go for the next 90 minutes or so and deal with what we came here to do. Let's talk some sports. But man, y'all, we know what time it is. Last week we had the first real week of full football, as in high school, college, and pro. We're not talking no high school tonight, but don't be surprised we bring it up later on in another episode. But that being said, we're gonna talk a lot of college and pro football this week. We're definitely gonna talk the whole show about that. But before we do that, we're gonna give you a quick rundown of a few stories we want to talk about outside of football this week, that's sports related. We got G-Ma checking in. What's going on, G-Ma? What's happening? Hey, good to see you as always. Hope things are going well with you. But okay, that being said, Hugh, we're gonna put the timer on 15 minutes. For 15 minutes,
okay.
We talk non-football. After that, we're taking a commercial, and the show is yours. Football guru session in full effect this week, as it will be most of the regular season and the playoffs. You with it? You with it?
Yes, sir. I can dig that. What's up, y'all?
What up, y'all? My show back up next week. All right, who might that be? Let's see. Let us check in and find out who that is. Mr. Muhammad. What's going on, Will? We're going to give you that free advertising. Let us know what time your show is going on so people can check you here. We will advertise that for you, sir. Appreciate you checking in. All right. That being said, Hugh, you ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
What's happening? I do believe that might be our good buddy Pride. Let me see. We got people checking in on both the networks this evening, so got to go back and forth here and see who's doing what. We appreciate all you Nighthawk networkers for checking in as well. So look, you ready? Here we go. Baseball. All right, we know we got about 3 weeks left in the season. There's only 3 things we really keeping an eye on. Is Justin Verlander coming back?
Pretty much.
If he comes back this week, he has an outside shot of winning 20 games this year, being one of the oldest people to ever win 20, by the way. All right. Will checking back in says this Sunday, 11 a.m. sharp, his show is coming on back. We will definitely let people know when that is going on so they can check out. He does a lot of football talk on that show. And so if you like even more football, you can check him out then. That being said, back to what we talking about him. 3 weeks, about 20 games left. Verlander scheduled to come back sometime tomorrow or even Thursday. He should get enough starts to get 4 starts in. That when those 4 games, that's 20, right? And the other 2 things of note we checking out, we got that one dude, Aaron Judge. Where are we right now on his home run chase? Hugh?
He's 4 away from the magic number 60. He hit 2 last night. So yeah, man, I still feel like with over 3 weeks to go, he can still get that 65. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
You say 65? Wow. You expect him to go on
I'm,
quite
de-
a
I'm
little.
definitely,
Well, the one thing
yeah, I'm thinking he.
that plays in the favor of that is the weather's supposed to be rather decent on this side of the country for the next few weeks before it starts to get cold. And they play a lot of those games at Yankee Stadium where you know he mashes. So keep in mind, he is 20 home runs over anybody else this year. Did you know that, people? He's hit 20 more home runs than anybody else in the league. That's ridiculous. I ain't seen stuff like that since the Babe Ruth day.
What's interesting to me with him too, man, a lot of people ain't aware of it right now, man. They were asking him in an interview about his contract and the Yankees not being able to meet his expectations of him being able to bet on himself and playing and just having one of the best seasons I've ever seen. But now they're asking him, is there any places that he consider going? And one of the places that came up is the people they're playing right now, man, the Boston Red Sox. They mentioned that, and he said he liked their culture. He feel like it's a good ballpark. It's a lot of history there. He talked about the fans and how the fans will hate you to the fullest if you're not.
You wasting our 15 minutes with this. You wasting our 15 minutes with this, you. He ain't going nowhere. Come on, man. There's only one other place he would go. And that's the only other team that can pay him a ridiculous amount of money that he's going to command. And that, of course, is the Dodgers. So that being said, he ain't going nowhere. It's all.
That's just a tactic. It's a scare tactic, but he might be that first $500 million player, bro. I'm just saying.
I see him making $50 million a season. I don't know how long the contract gonna be. Keep in mind he is almost 30 now. But yeah, I see it going there.
Then,
anyway, let's move on.
You right on contracts neither. So yeah, forgive me for saying that because they rather do the 5 or 6, even the longest 7, and go about their business.
He playing the game. We know what it is. Okay, moving on. Mr. Albert Pujols, the only other thing we're talking about right now. Where is he at his mission?
Right now, he's pretty close, man. He has like 3 home runs left, man.
3 home runs. That puts him at the magical 700. Keep in mind, that puts him in the rarest of rare air. There's Babe Ruth, there's Hank Aaron, and then, of course, there's Barry Bonds for what it's worth. So if he makes it there, at that point, I think he's good. But again, it all comes down to what happens a home run from now. I pretty much think if it takes him about a week or so to get that next home run, everything is everything. If he don't get it to like about 8, 9 games left, I think at that point he plays every game for the rest of the season until he gets it.
I've been keeping my eye on
third base, playing third base, playing DH, wherever they're gonna put it. But that being said, as far as the rest of the baseball goes, most of the divisions are already set up to pretty much be what they are. Dodgers done already clinched. Congrats to them. No big surprise there. You basically got the Yankees 5 in front of Tampa Bay. They may make it close, but in the end, it should be clinching sometime next week, middle week after. Cleveland and Chicago, that's the only real race truly in all of baseball. So it could be either one of them winning. Minnesota might even mess around and pull up on both of them. Houston already up 12. They'll be clinching sometime next week. The Mets and Atlanta, they both going to the playoffs, so don't too much matter. St. Louis is 8 over Milwaukee. They'll be clinching sometime in the next week. And we already know what's going on with the Dodgers. So that's baseball. Let's move on. WNBA Finals. What's your impressions?
Man, I feel like it's been pretty interesting, but it's over with, man. After the first game, I was like, oh man, the Aces might lose again on their home court. But then when they pulled that game out and won, and then the blowout game from yesterday, I just see like what you said, man. I feel like they're gonna sweep, and that's the end of the WNBA season.
Game 2 showed me everything I need to see. No way in hell the Connecticut Sun win 3 straight games on the Aces. Even if they get two of their top players hurt on the Aces, they still got so much more firepower than them. It's a wrap. We'll be telling you this week about the Aces, and we'll give them their flowers again. Let's move on. All right. The big story of the week that's not baseball or WNBA related goes in the NBA, where the owner of the Phoenix Suns has been fined $10 million and suspended for 1 year. Tell them why, Hugh. Tell them why.
He did all types of foolery, man. I heard well, they wanted to get like a physical on him, man. He pulled out his pants and he using the N word. He said it like 5 times around players, and he was talking and saying it like it was just his regular language, like that's something supposed to be saying, but he was saying it anyway. And he was like talking nasty to the women, groping them, and he was just basically getting away with stuff that you could get away with back in the day. But none of that stuff stands for now. And I was just really surprised that it went on for this long. And it's sad to me, too, because we had a little discussion about this, was the fact that Chris Paul had to deal with that with Los Angeles. And now you turn around with Phoenix, I had to go through the same thing, man. I just feel like it's a travesty, and I'm glad that LeBron James spoke up amongst it and said what he said. But I don't like the fact, too, they saying we want to leave it up to the players what we need to do with him. No, that's up to you guys. Y'all need to handle that.
Okay, well, keep in mind, a couple people have been blaming Adam Silver. You can't blame Adam for this. His hands is tied. Let's not forget who he works for. He works for the owners. The owners had already had their discussions. That's why we got this fine. If the owners really had an issue with it, they would have voted him out. They are fully within their rights to do so. Bottom line is there's one minority owner in all of professional sports. His name is Michael Jordan. Michael, you never really spoke up on much in the past in terms of race or relations and that. It's time for you to speak on this, first of all. Second of all, if Donald Sterling got what he got for the things he said, this guy seemingly did even worse. Because keep in mind, at least Sterling did most of his stuff behind closed doors. This dude was at work doing these things. Talk about women, ooh, look what she got on, slut, and all type of crazy stuff being reported. Imagine you go to your job and your boss is commenting on what your underwear look like in your pants and how that dress fits you, calling you nigga and all other such foolishness. And then on top of that, yelling and cursing at you on a regular, as it is said that he's done from time to time. Just going and berating people like they're not grown. Who would want to work for somebody like that unless, of course, you're getting paid ridiculous amounts of money? And in the end, remember, you done suspended him for 1 year. When he comes back, let's just say you was one of the people that let it be known that he was doing this type of stuff. He probably gonna make your life a living hell. Okay, is that somebody you would want to do? If you have the options right now, if you anybody in that office and you got some stories to tell, or you got some video or audio evidence, it's time to whip that out. Because in the end, yes, we about to break out the deck tonight. Because the race card is definitely being played here. Because in the end, if it was Michael Jordan who was the owner that was in trouble like this right now, is Michael Jordan getting that? He wouldn't even. He is Michael Jordan. Or if they talking about Michael, yeah, you want to get your team up, bro. Now, somebody of note actually went as far to say, yeah, it's time for him to sell the team, and he should sell it to somebody that's black or a woman. Now, granted, that's easier said than done. There's not too many black billionaires walking around, and you're going to need a couple or a few billion to buy you an NBA team this day if you're buying it on your own. So I don't know how logical that is, but long and short of it is, in the real world, if you was a boss like that, you fired. But when you got that extra mean green, the rules for billionaires is different. Plain simple.
Totally different. It's league.
You don't look like us, and you look like the people who don't look like us. In other words, you know what I'm saying. Let's move on. Said Serena has hinted about pulling a Tom Brady. Long and short of it, Hugh, is she coming back or not?
I don't believe so, man. As much as I would like for her to come back, I think that man, she got her flowers, man. She did it, man. I'll talk about when I seen some of the stuff that she did historically, like Aber hit his first hit when she won, and like how Tom Brady was in college, and I don't even think he played a game yet. So it was like so much historic stuff that went on with her career, and how it evolved around some of the greats in the game. That was amazing to hear that. But I feel like now she really don't have much to prove. But if she do come back, man, I mean, just as a fan, I would love to see it. But if she decided to walk off in the sunset, man, I could respect that too. So yeah,
it's in her blood.
Yeah.
It's in her blood. Right now, if you twisted her arm today, is you coming back? You got to tell us now or don't ever come back. It's 80-20. She going to say, no, I'm good. That being said, let Tom Brady win the Super Bowl. Let Tiger Woods come back and win another major. Either one of them things happen, she'll be back next year. Let it be 6 months from now. She done lost that extra 20 pounds she need to lose right quick, and she didn't get impregnated. I can see it, Hugh. I can see it. I can see her.
Yeah, me too.
Last run. So keep in mind, she made it to the third round of the U.S. Open and almost won the third round game. And she went in her best shape. She only played like 6 tournaments all year. Let her get a full 6 months of practice in and get that itch. And then one of them pull that off. She'll be back. Especially since her sister is still playing. I think that's another reason why she might be back.
That unfinished business.
Tournament.
She probably don't like the way that tastes when she left, man, and when she got put out, And yeah, I could definitely see her looking at it like it's unfinished business and making a comeback.
Yep. Now that being said, we're gonna talk about Tom Brady and everybody else after these commercial breaks. This is Gametime Audible. When we come back, Hugh is taking over the show. It's the Guru's football session in full effect. And then afterwards, Hugh, hang around after the show. We gotta have a quick discussion. You feel me?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, this is a little insider stuff. But moving on, this is Gametime Audible. Commercials, please. Thank you.
We're not asking for your permission. We're not seeking your approval. We're claiming what's ours in the name of our ancestors. We are their answered prayers. This is more than a movement. This is a revolution. Black innocence. What are yours today?
Have you been scrolling Facebook and looking for that quick sports fix? Want a quick peek of what's going on in the latest sports news? Check out Pure to the Game sports blog with the sports guru, QD Lee. He'll get you together. Check it out. Follow it on Facebook. Make sure you like it. This is Get Off My Lawn Live. Join us as we talk trending topics, world and local issues, and the conversations that we need to talk about as people. Get Off My Lawn Live is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Behind the Blue Curtain, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Viewer discretion discretion is advised.
The views and or opinions expressed here on Gametime Audible is that of the host and or guests, and does not necessarily reflect those of the Nighthawk Network or its affiliates. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. What's going on, y'all? We are back, Gametime Audible. That man, Hugh Lee, me, E-Buck, and of course, we got a shout out Road to start him in the building. What's going on, Road? What was that, Hugh? Repeat
Oh
that,
no, I
Hugh?
just wanted to give a shout out, to
Okay, it didn't come through the first time. That's what's up. All right, that being said, y'all know what time it is. We going straight football the rest of the way. So that being said, it's time for the Guru football session. Here he is. We're gonna put him in the front seat right there, like that there. And Hugh, the floor is yours, sir. Let's go.
All right, man. I want to get this off my chest right quick, man. Alabama and Tennessee recap that game, man. When I saw that, a lot of people were looking at me and
they played damn Texas. Do not make the Texas people mad by saying they played Tennessee.
yes, I apologize for that, Texas. Man, I get hung down there if I said that, man. But speaking of, it was a really good game, and I laughed because he thought that I was going to be over here panicking. The text he got was definitely non-panicky. I basically laughed and I said, man, this is actually a pretty good game. And then I told him, why that game was as good as it was. You got to give credit to Steve Sarkisian, man. He's a hell of a coach, always has been. He learned a lot from being over there in Alabama. And I still feel like, no disrespect to, Coach Saban, I just don't really feel like they had the speedsters like they used to have. Them Jerry Judys and those Jameson Williams and, all those guys, the Julios back in the heyday, all those dudes are not there anymore. You got a whole new receiving core. And you just got to do what you got, man. But at the same time, give credit to that Texas defense, man. They played really good, and the offense played lights out as well. So you got to give more credit to Texas and how they stood up and how they played that game, even though I like the way Bryce never really panicked. And that's why I didn't panic. And he just went down and got them into the winning position of the game, man. I was actually pretty clutch. I definitely feel like they'll be possibly ranked now after that game, but I still feel like after that performance that I would have to still put Georgia at number one due to the fact that Georgia's just been killing people, man. It don't matter who's on the field, Georgia's being Georgia. And I was surprised that they didn't really look at them like being one of the top two. Now they got that position back. And I feel like until Ohio State proved me wrong, they'll definitely be number two. But then I don't think that they'll move them back that far because I just feel like Georgia's is a huge powerhouse. But yeah, it's been some really interesting football. It was more upsets than I expected too, man. And I wanted to go into that too.
Whoa. Slow down. You gotta let me react to this first of all. Okay. Every time Alabama play a close game, I'm getting texts from this dude, okay? Every time. Now keep in mind, I'm gonna say this much. I think Coach Saban likes when they had these close games. Because understand, as a coach, There are two things that I feel Coach Saban truly enjoys, and that's why he is still coaching in college football. One, he likes to teach. He is a teacher of the game. And when you have the blowout every week, much like we'll have this week, because who they play this week, Custard State University, don't matter. It's going to be a blowout. But anyway, I think he likes these games more because these are teachable moments. This is where he can go back like, okay, y'all not as good as you think you are just because you're here. Here's what we need to do to get better. And he likes to have these games early because that way it helps him build the momentum throughout the season. That's why you schedule a Texas. I think he knew it was going to be a better game than people gave it credit for because he knows that coach. He coached it. The second thing I think he likes is he likes to be able to teach his coordinators and his coaches to coach them up. See, this is why we fail because you didn't do your job the way you should have. You special teams coach, you offensive coach, so on and so forth. I think these are the things that Nick Saban enjoys about his job, and that is why he likes to have games like this, particularly early on in the season, so that he can turn around and make teachable moments. The reason why his players will respond is because you don't go to Alabama just to play football. You go for two reasons, and it's not the education. You go because one, if you go to Alabama, you already 3 steps up on everybody else that's playing football in terms of going to the league. You got the best facilities, you got the best coach, you got several hundreds of examples that might fall back through campus throughout the season to talk about, yeah, this is what I did when I was there before I played for the Cowboys, Eagles, Lions, Vikings. You know, it's pretty much an Alabama person on every squad in the NFL. Much like it's pretty much a Connecticut yeah, I had to throw my UConn in there. You threw your Alabama in there. It's like it's a UConn Lady Husky pretty much on every WNBA squad. You see what I'm saying? It's the factory, baby. It's the factory. This is how the factory works. Bottom line, Hugh, is Alabama going undefeated this season? No. No, they are not. Is any team in this top 25 at the moment going undefeated? Maybe Georgia. Everybody else, I see them losing one game somewhere down the line. So is there any room to panic? No, because Alabama and Notre Dame, they automatically get one extra loss every year, in my opinion. Notre Dame because they basically play whoever the hell they want to play, and Alabama because they're Alabama. So even if they lose one game, that still ain't going to put them out the top 10, and more than likely they win everything else because that includes playing Georgia, then they will be in the playoffs anyway because they're Alabama. The factory gets a little extra credit than anybody else. So that being said,
that's why I didn't.
You're going to have a few close games this year, bro. Deal with it. Alabama's still the factory, okay?
Because they're so young. Turnover was different this year versus it has in a while because they lost 8 really solid players. But I still feel like I'm not really panicked.
End up in the pros. I don't give a damn how young they is. It's the difference when you got the best of the best of any player in the country. I don't care how young they is. I don't care how not quick they is. He gonna coach them up, Hugh. You will see better play from Alabama as the year goes on.
What I like about it, he puts the players in position when you don't think that they should be in that position. So when that time comes, they'll be ready. All of those receivers, all those running backs, everybody's on that team, offense and defense is going to go through that. So that's why I'm not panicked about it. And it's just better for football, man. I'm not saying, they can't win it all, but at the same time, if they're not winning constantly back to back to back and all that other stuff, it still makes good for the football, man. And the pros.
Because I'm the same way about UConn when it's their season and they mess around and have a close game or they lose one. I know in the end it's not about the regular season. It's about the playoffs and get to the national championship. And they got one of the 5 best teams on the floor before they even start. You said what? And
now? You talk about me panicking, man. We could be on the phone and we could be up 20, and then they'll be up 10. I'm about to get off the phone, man. They only up 10.
That's why I could relate. I understand. I'm giving you a hard time, but you
True.
know, I'm the same way about my squad. You know this. But yeah, go ahead, Hugh. What else we got?
Oh, we got to hit them upsets. Speaking of your Northern Dames, I had to put that in, man. Marshall, man, our boys went out there and balled, man. And what was so cool about it was the coach basically coached them up before then, and he was like, "Hey, man, you can look at the beautiful scenery, you can see everything, out here in Northern Dame. You can bask in the moment, but when it's time to get out there and play football, that's what I want you to do. Don't let all this other stuff overexcite you and intimidate you. You go out there and you play your game. And if you do that, we can win. I believe in us, and I think that we can beat them." And they made Northern Dame work, man. I feel bad, too, for the new coach because he's a hell of a coach. And the first game was super close. And it just got, to the point where, like, they didn't execute at the end. And in this game right here, I just felt like Marshall put in that work. They outworked them at home, and I think they caught them slipping.
Marshall is a good team. I will say that. But what happened to Notre Dame is this. One, the turnover. Keep in mind, there are certain games that teams that you think should win are going to lose this year because of those two magic words, transfer portal. And the problem is when Kelly left, a lot of players left with him, and that left them what they had. And unfortunately, it did not leave them with much in terms of quarterback. Quarterback play is why Notre Dame lost that game. They had the one quarterback. He is now hurt, probably going to be out half the season. And their backup, not a good backup. That being said, there's already probably people in Notre Dame looking at the transfer portal to see what quarterback may be available for next season, and I already got one for them, and you already know who it is. But we'll get to that when we talk about that game briefly. But yeah, long and short of it is Marshall, they did get coached up well, they believe. Should they have won that game? No. But did they? Yes. And that game, and them winning that game is why you got to love college football. Games like that are good for the sport because, we always talk about any given Sunday in the NFL. It's not so much so in college sports. So when you have that rare occasion where the upset comes into play and you can go on that small Marshall campus and see the party take place as it did, and trust and believe, when they got back, they had a whole nother party there at Marshall. And coming from a small college like Eastern Michigan myself, I understand what that means for you to go into a game, people thinking you ain't going to make it, and then you upset Wisconsin. Or you go to the Sweet 16. I've been there. I know what that feels like. It's a good feeling. It's a reason why you become proud of your school. It's that thing that when you talk about your college days, remember that time when we beat Notre Dame when I was a sophomore? We had a party that night. Those are the games to live for. So I was very excited for them, but not nearly as excited as I was for the next game I'm sure you're going to bring up.
I want to hit you with one of the games that really caught me off guard, man. And man, it was that BYU upsetting Baylor.
No, that wasn't the game I thought you were going to talk about. I could care less about BYU. I understand that's on your list. If you want to expound on it, please do. But them two teams ain't going nobody's playoff. I don't care.
I understand. The difference behind it was, I don't know if you saw, man, they were down two wide receivers, two of their best wide receivers. That's what's about that.
It's BYU. Right now, the way the Pac-12 is set up, it's only three teams worth talking about. Washington, USC, UCLA, maybe Utah. After that, ain't none of them teams going no playoffs. See them in the little Reach Bowl. That's it. That's
what team you had in mind?
Huh?
What team you had in mind?
I got to talk about the biggest upset of the weekend. Texas A&M and Appalachian State, baby. Now that's the game nobody picked.
Man,
the people that went to Appalachian State didn't pick them to win. Come on now.
That definitely caught me off guard due to the fact that I thought that like you said, man, I wasn't expecting that one coming, man. But Appalachian State, man, unfortunately, we know about those guys, man, and that definitely keeps a bad taste in my mouth. But at the end of the day, they almost beat North Carolina, which they should have, man. That was a really crazy game with them in the Tar Heels. And they should definitely have their head up high. Then to turn around and did what they did too. Nobody had, like you said, nobody had
that was an important game for them. I don't think
Texas,
they beat Texas A&M if they hadn't played like they did against Carolina the week before.
And that surprised me because Texas A&M was one of the better teams. If I'm not mistaken, they was ranked 6, wasn't they?
Not only were they ranked 6, they also had the #1 recruiting class in the country, even over teams like Alabama, Clemson, UNM, Ohio State. So keep in mind, that's a big embarrassment for that program, okay? I'm pretty sure some of the boosters down there, keep in mind, they got some of the bigger boosters in the country at Texas A&M. That's right there deep in oil country. So it's people that support that school that got millions of dollars. Promise you, they was not happy with that loss. Jimbo Fisher automatically on the hot seat after that.
I have a question. Do you think some of those dudes gonna decommit? And when I mean decommit, do you think some of them dudes gonna be like, hey man, if any other hiccup like that happen, they gonna start hitting the exit route, man, and start going into that portal?
That's pretty much gonna happen at every school nowadays. But that being said, no, I think you still keep most of them at this point. But let A&M find themselves losing to Arkansas or Alabama or both of them the next 2 weeks, seeing that's their next 2 games. Things get real iffy after that. And keep in mind, it's been said, subjectively by Saban that the reason why people went to Texas A&M in the first place was because they was cashing them out. So
yeah,
if that's why you're going in the first place, then the asset price just went up after losing to Appalachian State. But let's look at the reverse of that. Appalachian State, they have a great recruiting tool now. Hey, we beat top 10 schools here at Appalachian State. We beat Michigan. We beat Texas A&M. You could be that next kid that brings us to the next victory. You could be the one that puts us in the top 25. Keep in mind, they received 80 top 25 votes this week, okay? That 9 more, they would have been in the top 25. Guess who is number 25, by the way?
Who?
Texas A&M.
Oh wow, dang, they dropped
that far.
Dang.
Let me give you the top 10 this week, by the way, right quick. Number 1 is actually Georgia, yet again. 2 is Alabama. 3 is OSU. 4 is Michigan. 5 is Clemson. 6 is Oklahoma. 7 USC. 8 Oklahoma State. 9 Kentucky. 10 Arkansas. And right in 11 is MSU. So I do believe they beat Washington this week. They'll be in the top 10 because Kentucky and Arkansas are barely there. But yeah, that being said, I really, really am happy for Appalachian State. Because remember, after they beat Michigan, soon after that, a couple years later, they became a Division I school after being a Division II school. A couple more victories like that to hang on your hat, who knows what the future might be for Appalachian State. They might be one of the fill-ins for the ACC or the Big East when they start breaking them down and more of them go to the SEC or the Big Ten, because we already know in the end, they're going to be the 2 big super conferences. We know that. So it's key for schools like Appalachian State to show up and show out every now and then so they still could be relevant in all this talk about expansion and making money and stuff. They probably earn them a couple extra TV games. They definitely earn them a couple games next year. Be like, yeah, well, come play us. Y'all think y'all tough? Y'all think y'all doing something? Yeah, come to the big house. Let's get this back cracking, or come to Death Valley, or so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So again, it is good for the smaller teams to get their just desserts every now and then. That's why I very much like that game. And keep in mind, that Texas A&M game, that wasn't even close for real. Appalachian State beat them.
Yeah, they tried to get some momentum, but by that time, man, it was already over with. You could put that game in the books. But you know what's funny? I'm glad you mentioned too, because I was going to talk about that Kentucky Florida game too. I really felt like, man, they showed me something different. They were already half decent last year because they were one of the main only teams who didn't really get blew out by Georgia. Georgia was just like really steamrolling people, and Kentucky gave them a little bit of a hiccup. But Florida though, man, I really had high hopes for Florida and how they was playing.
Motion detected at the blink cam 1.
And just was surprised with how everything turned out.
Who in your backyard, Hugh?
Man, I ain't like that at all.
I didn't like that either.
It was a raccoon.
Yep.
A raccoon.
Yep.
But yeah, I really like Kentucky, man. I think that's a really good team, man. They had a good run game. The passing game's okay, need a little bit more work, but that defense was lights out, man. They the ones who actually was putting it on Florida. They played them in out physical Florida, man. They were a little too finesse for me when you look at them, and I just felt like they came out and popped them boys in the mouth.
Absolutely. I mean, bottom line is Florida's still going to be good this year. I definitely like that kid, that quarterback Richardson. But that being said, they're gonna take a couple more L's for us over with. They're not fully staffed enough to be on that upper echelon of teams, especially considering they play in the SEC. If they play maybe in ACC or somewhere like that, it'd be a little different. But because they play in the toughest division in college football, I see them getting a few more L's.
That Tennessee, when they upset Pitt, man, I thought I was going to see a little bit better from Pitt too this year, and I was thinking that they were going to rise up in the top 10. But yeah, I was a little surprised with that, but not too much because they're not really that far apart as ranking. But I thought Pitt was going to
count that as a big upset. I think they was about right here with each other, and like I said, I wasn't surprised that they won, not at all.
I was paying more attention to keeping my eye on them just because I started paying a little more attention to them after the Kenny Pickett situation. But yeah, that game though, man. But then, that's just college football. Like you said, any given Saturday when it comes to them, man. But I really want to talk to you about too. I'm just glad that J.J. McCarthy got the starting job now, man, because
I'm so glad you went here.
When they gave him the keys to the Beamer, he took the keys and he took it on cruise control, man. That was a thrashing that we wanted to see. And at the same time, man, you could tell all those guys are basically with him and they're going to ride with him the rest of this season. I definitely glad now that he got a couple of games under him, even though I didn't too much care for him last season with one of the biggest games we had and he fumbled. But we ain't gonna go there. We're gonna talk about this season, man.
That's all the talking heads not named Calvin Carr want to bring up when it comes to McCarthy. Like that was just the biggest fumble in the history. That was not the butt fumble. That was not a fumble at the one. Denver and Cleveland going to the Super Bowl. It was not as big a deal as you make that. It's a lot of Michigan haters because there's a lot of Harbaugh haters out there. He comes off as gruff and not relatable, and a lot of people just don't like that. A lot of people try to get him on their show, the Jim Rome's All the World, and he turns them down. They don't like that. They hate on this dude. But all he has done, wherever he has gone, is win. He won at Stanford. He won at San Francisco. He's won at Michigan. Has he won the national championship? No. But hell, when you got Nick Saban around, that's a hard thing to do. There's a lot of people ain't got national championship on their resume. But yeah, you got to give Coach Harbaugh credit here. He was smart. He knew.
Looking for that kid's upside, though.
Quarterback. And I think early on, he already knew he had every intention of starting McCarthy. But he had to be fair to McNamara, and also he had to ensure that he would stick around, just in case McNamara wasn't 100% when he came back from his surgery. So he made it an open competition. He saw McNamara was healthy. He saw McCarthy was healthy. He set up this little you start. He purposely gave McCarthy the second start against the weaker team so that he would shine. So then he could come out and say, yeah, he's the quarterback. This was all preconceived by him. And if you don't think so, you stupid. That man is a lot of things, Jim Harbaugh. Stupid is not one of them. Now he has two quality quarterbacks going into the season. If McCarthy happens to wet the bed, he can always put McNamara back in. At that point, it's his job. Bottom line is McCarthy probably finishes off the season. They don't win a national championship, but they probably at least get to the title game or at least get close to undefeated before they play Ohio State. In the end, we already know what's going to happen. McNamara still got 2 years of eligibility. He'll hit the transfer portal. You know where he probably going to end up, Hugh? Remember earlier I said I had a place for him? How about Notre Dame? Think about it. It's the perfect spot. They need a quarterback.
Yeah, they do.
A little bit better than a game manager. That's McNamara in a nutshell. And you don't think he would want to have his revenge on Michigan by going to Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah.
All it would take is a couple handshakes and a couple NIL deals, and boom, he's your quarterback next year. Mark my words, don't be surprised.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
In the meanwhile, the backup at Michigan, he ain't that bad either from what I've seen. So it ain't like they're going to be hurt without him. And remember, McCarthy still going to have 3 years of eligibility after this year if he so chooses. It all worked out beautiful for Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think he did what he had to do while he's here.
Absolutely. All right, what else we got? Who else we got, man?
I want to jump into the NFL if you're ready.
All right, you ain't got no more college football for me?
Nah.
Okay, well, I got one more thing I do want to bring in. Scott Frost, fired. Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
Your thoughts?
Definitely forgot about that. But hey, man, the way he started off, man, and what is his record? It's like well under 500. I think it's like 15-31 in the last years or something like that. It's a really bad record with him, man, and I don't see why they didn't consider that before. But then I think they looked at it and said, okay,
well, no, that's his record at Nebraska. He had a very good record before that. Remember, he was at UCF, and UCF can be Alabama 1 year, if you recall.
He basically, I think that they just did right, man. I think it was a decent thing to do to give him the start of the season rather than just flat out be like, nah, we don't want him back. And they gave them the opportunity. I just felt like with the 2 games that been played and how bad they've been played, I just feel like after that, they basically figured what they had with him, and it's unfortunate it just didn't work out in that situation.
He was supposed to be the savior, just like Harbaugh was supposed to be the savior at Michigan. It's worked out a lot better for Harbaugh. For Scott Frost, not so much. Bottom line is the main thing you're supposed to be good at is coaching up the quarterback. You never had a quarterback that could handle the pressure of the big game. That's why you lost your job, okay? Not to mention the fact it's Nebraska. Let me break this down for you, Hugh. Once upon a time, before there was a factory, right before Florida State, in between that was this team called Nebraska. And they was dominant. And they was always on TV. Like Leave It to Beaver reruns. Like Duke. They was always on TV, no matter who they played. Nebraska is not that anymore. And Nebraska, they don't like that. Think that was it's Nebraska, Hugh.
And those guys
outside of Nebraska Cornhuskers, and I will say Bud Crawford, what else do you even know about Nebraska? What else could you even think about as related to Nebraska?
Not too much.
That is why it is vitally important that Nebraska has a relevant football team to be relevant, period, in college sports, let alone in football. So you cannot allow this to take place any further, especially with all this movement going on within the Big Ten and the SEC. We're about to bring USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. You barely even remember Nebraska is in the Big Ten. So when you bring them on and then you add an Oregon or Washington to it, you ain't even gonna think about damn Nebraska no more. They're gonna be right up there with Purdue, Indiana, Rutgers, them teams that, oh yeah, they are in the Big Ten. If you're in Nebraska, that's the last thing you want to happen. You had to fire that dude. Now, what I found interesting is that they put the black head coach as head coach in Nebraska, of all places. Now, granted, I know it's black people in Nebraska. Don't write in nothing. But when you think people of color, Nebraska is not the first place you think of.
Hell, not even Iowa neither.
So that being said, I think his rope gonna be real short. So if Nebraska has a winning year, I think that buys him a 2-year deal. If Nebraska basically show out the rest of the year, that buys him a 3-year deal. But if Nebraska basically go 500 or less, he was the interim coach. We'll get rid of him. We'll move on. Bottom line, it's gonna be a long year for Nebraska. They still got to play Ohio State and Michigan and MSU and all that. It don't look good for that brother. It don't. Now we can move on. Now we're ready to talk some pro football. Let's go.
How you feel about the Darren Waller deal, the 3-year, $51 million contract that he just got right before the season?
Not bad. Not bad. I'm beginning to wonder now, is that going to be the next player group that starts to get broke off the big money? We already know that was the big run last year on all the wide receivers once Devontae cashed out. Is it going to be time for the tight ends to start making the money now?
I'm definitely believing that's the next case, man, because the Kittles and, they definitely going to have to redo Kelsey's deal, man. Just really interesting to seeing what's going to happen. Zach said, what
Kittle, you got Kelsey. And remember, Hawkinson's deal about to come up soon. You got that?
Yeah, playing pretty good, man. He's no slouch neither.
So
you said Mitch. Talk about Zach. You talking about Mitch Trubisky?
Oh yeah, this is a Steelers fan here, so yeah, we definitely will get to that.
You know what? He didn't do bad, man. He actually did okay. He basically did enough. People could call him a game manager if they want, but I felt like he felt comfortable, man. It kind of made me look back when he was in Chicago that year when they had a really good record and he was playing pretty well. And he was basically one of them guys where they was like, man, they think that they drafted him too high. And a lot of people were second guessing him being drafted that high. But then after his performance in that second and third year, especially when he played and he was lights out, in Chicago, I thought that he would be an okay quarterback. It was just a lot of turnaround and a lot of stuff that happened over there in Chicago. And I feel like he went
like at some point in his career, Mitch Trubisky was lights out.
Mm-hmm. That 1 year when he played, man, they won 11 games. I still feel like they had like
they made the playoffs that year. I give you that, but lights out,
dude. Well, played, but okay.
The Lions, he was lights out. I give him that.
He started to make me feel like he was like deserving to be in. I still didn't think the pick he was at. But I still feel like, well, maybe he might, been a first-round quarterback, man. I think it was still a little too high. But, yeah, he actually played pretty well, and he wasn't playing as a game manager. Like right now, that's what it seems like. He's more of a game manager. But at the same time, he had the good pieces around him as far as Mike Tomlin, man. I don't care how, good or bad a player is. When you go to Mike Tomlin, man, it seems like you get that much better, man. You got to give him respect, man. That's a well-coached team.
Let's give more credit to the entire team that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is why they won that game. They got after that dude, and keep in mind, he is not 100%. Remember, when you get your appendectomy and they take something out of your body, that is a major surgery. One that takes longer to really be yourself than people give it credit for. Particularly if you play football and you get hit a lot where that appendix used to be at, that is definitely going to affect you for a while. So Joe Burrow, keeping in mind he was trying to recover from that, and still play preseason football and what have you, that definitely did affect his play last week. Pittsburgh's defense also affected his play last week because they still have a decent defense, a good defense even in Pittsburgh. But basically, if Mitch could be somewhat slightly better than a game manager, they may mess around and win more games than they lose yet again. But I still don't see them as a playoff team at this point.
And then the X factor, that Sunday game, man, there was so many people getting injured, man. And one of the biggest injuries I definitely wanted to talk about, man, TJ Watt, man, with the pectoral injury. It's not going to be as long as we thought. We thought he was going to probably be out the whole year. And he was blessed, man, that they said the pec didn't come off the bone. So at the least, he'd be back in 6 to 8 weeks, 6 being the max.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Hugh, but didn't his brother JJ had a similar injury at some point in his career?
Yeah, man. You know what? I know where you're coming at. Yeah. I feel like I don't know, it's something about that family, man. They're hell of players, but they are pretty damn injury prone. Is that what you was going?
Snake bit with that. Like I said, you look back at the Gronkowski family that played in NFL. A lot of them was hurt from time to time. Not just Rob Gronk, but his brother when he played. So yeah, it's something to be said for that. I don't know, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a huge loss for them. But I would say the biggest injury of this week was not TJ Watt, but one Dak Prescott.
Yes, sir.
I think if they don't get him back in the 5 games now, because they're saying it's more like 5 games than 8, they're done. They're already.
And we were talking, remember I was talking to you and I was like, man, I was hearing rumors that San Francisco was listening, but I don't think that'd be the case, even, and no disrespect, but that's one of the games I wanted to talk about too, man, with 49ers and the Bears. We didn't expect that game to be that close by a long shot, man. We thought that they was just going to beat them by at least 14 to 17 points.
You see what I'm doing, right?
Yes, sir. Man.
That's what affected that whole game.
That was like a damn
people reading too much into how Trey Lance played, or how Jordan Field played, or how the defense looked. When you have games that's played under those type of conditions, that changes the whole aspect of ball.
I've never seen it rain like that. That was like a mini hurricane.
That fourth quarter was ridiculous. I almost think they should have shut it down at that point.
Yeah, and you've never seen a football game get shut down, but I agree with you, man. And the crazy part about that, though, I was like, man, thank God we need rain, but you already know here, man, if we had that drought and everything is dry here. But we just need that one good rain where all of Detroit to be flooded.
If it rain like that in Detroit, you already know by the end of the day, I'm downstairs cleaning up the flood again. I don't want to see that.
Yep, I'm glad you stayed in Chicago, buddy.
I'm glad I got the wet back and all that now for in case it happened again. But that being said, no, I can't give that game much credence because of the weather factor. Out of any game this week in the NFL, that's probably the only game where weather was a major factor.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. But going back to Dak, man, like you said, it's not looking good for the Cowboys, man. And everybody.
When he was playing the first 3 quarters, they wasn't looking all that great.
Not at all.
That receiver thing is definitely an issue there in Dallas.
It always seems like they have so much high hopes too, and then it always turn out to be like that, man. And they got the spotlight on them, man. All eyes are on them their next game.
Right. And while you making calls about San Francisco, you need to make a call to Seattle and see what's up with DJ.
Yeah,
Cowboy country right now. A number 1 receiver like Metcalf. Now you put him on one side and CeeDee Lamb on the other. Now you're working with something.
Because no disrespect, we all seen just in that game alone, man. A lot of people were scratching their heads like, damn, y'all got rid of Amari Cooper and they put all that pressure on CeeDee Lamb, and then they felt like Gallup was going to be that guy. Yeah, right now he's not 100%. He's still trying to make his way back. But yeah, man, a lot of people don't believe that CeeDee Lamb's that guy right now, man. Even though they got him in a high draft pick, they feel like that's just not the answer right now for the Dallas Cowboys at the number one.
Yeah, like I said, they tried to force it to him a lot. He is not Cooper Kupp. He is definitely not Justin Jefferson. Hell, he's not even a good Debo, okay?
Justin Jefferson. Hey, that dude balled out, man. Yeah, Jamal Adams, man. You heard he out for the rest of the season with his knee injury, man. I want to get into that too, man. That was a game I didn't expect, and I was mad at my boy Claude because big ups to Claude. Love him for looking out for me, man. You already know about that situation, E.
Absolutely. Good looking, Claude.
He kept telling me, hey, man, yo, Hugh. He's like, well, he don't call me Hugh, man. I knew him since I was a kid. Hey, Dale, man, I don't know, man. Don't trip out, man. Don't panic right now. He was like, because your boy Russ going to cook, man. Just give him a chance. And I waited that whole damn game to see Russ cook. About time I took that shit.
The meme. Okay. For those of you who don't know, if you are on Hugh Lee's page, he oftentimes posts his memes. Some of y'all find them to be hilarious. I oftentimes find them to be disrespectful, depending on who he uses to clown the person with. I gotta admit that was a pretty good one he did of Russ.
But you're right, man. All the people were talking podcasts, ESPN, any sport network, man. They were saying Nathaniel Hackett need to do a better job at executing, man. Because at one point I looked and I said, y'all had a minute left. How the hell that minute go to 20 seconds and y'all decide to kick a 64-yard field goal? And it's nowhere near Denver. It's not that.
I agree with Stephen and them when they talked about it on First Take, man. Russ, part of that is on you, bruh. You were supposed to step up and like, look, this is my squad. I'm the big dog. Y'all ain't about to do me like this. They asked Brett Favre straight up, if that was you, would you have been like, yeah, kick the field goal? And at first, Brett was all him and hawing, like, yeah, well, it depends on the situation and what we talked about. Then the guy was like, man, you Brett Favre, don't you sit here and lie to me. Brett, if they would have told you we kicking a field goal, what would have happened? Yeah, we probably would have had a fight on the sideline. That's what I'm talking about. You need to have that, and we know that Russell ain't that type of dude, per se. But bottom line, you
should have demanded that.
Peyton Manning wouldn't have went for that. Tom Brady sure wouldn't have went for that. You lost that game because you didn't step up as the leader. Your coach lost you that game because he made bad decisions then and throughout that game. The dinking and dunking at the end, before we even got to the field goal, was pissing me off. Come on, man. You got some damn good receivers. You couldn't air that out a couple times. You got one of the better scrambling quarterbacks in the game. You couldn't set up no RPO or something where he could use them legs. Come on, man. That was just bad rookie head coaching job.
Because it looked like it was going to be a long game at one point, and then guess what happened? I was getting nervous at first, like, come on, man. And then Russ still didn't cook like I needed it to. But he threw that bomb.
Another person that you got to give credit to in that game is the crowd in Seattle.
Oh, man, that was a lot.
Is humming and him and their feet about putting a team back in Seattle? I do not know. If they get that type of support, like I done seen in that game, and when the Storm played in Seattle, if you get that type of support, you got to put a team there. I'm sorry. That was one of the best home crowds I done seen for a game in years. It was loud the whole damn game.
Because with that game too, man, got to give credit to Geno Smith, man. He played good for 3 quarters. He kind of disappeared in that 4th quarter. I think he started to get to the point where, he started to get them skeletons. He got nervous and he felt like, man, I don't want to try to put it all out there and make a mistake. And he wanted to try to play mistake-free. And that's why he was too vanilla and things got a little too conservative at the end. But I still give credit to the fact that Denver stepped up when they needed to, but just was really surprised in the way that game went with that whole field goal and definitely that far. I thought that was the weirdest thing. And think about it too, man.
And I understand that McManus was hitting 70s in practice and all that, but unless your name is Tucker, I don't know if I would have made the decision to kick a 64-yard because that dude Tucker, by far, still the best kicker in the game.
Period.
The kicker for the Baltimore Ravens we talking about.
Because Prater he was one of the better players, but then he got up there in age, and that's when Tucker just took over, man. But with 20 seconds, that's a lot of time, man, still in football, especially because they had all their timeouts, man. They could have went for it like a few good chunk plays and called at least a timeout, man, right. And to get them closer. I feel like 50.
Okay, I'm good. Go for that. But 64, that's not a good decision for damn near any team in the league, not named Baltimore. So come on now.
Just was really disappointed in that game, but I just gave respect, like you said, to that crowd and Geno Smith when he played, because then he started to get amongst himself, and then start to make them little crazy comments like, yeah, they wrote me off, but I ain't write them back. Like, yeah, let's see how well you play the rest of the season.
Okay. Now, won't that be crazy if in the end that's the only game they win all year?
I would be surprised, E, because we already feel like they're going to have a roller coaster.
Write you off, If you can't win no more than one game, you're done, sir.
And sometimes them emotions that hit you hard, man. Like Tom didn't play that great with the game when he came back in New England, but a lot of that had to do with the weather too. You and I know that. But I think the emotions got the best of him in that game, too. You could see it, man. And definitely, I know he was hurt getting booed. All he did for that place and winning them a Super Bowl to come back and get that type of treatment. So, yeah, I think the emotions out of it now, I think he'll be able to go out and focus, because I still feel like that Denver Broncos team is going to be a pretty decent team. I want to talk about – oh, go ahead, E.
Before you go there, Hugh, let me ask you this, because a lot of people have been making – a big deal of the fact that a lot of these games where some of these quarterbacks didn't do so good last week were teams where none of them played in the preseason, not one snap.
You noticed that
a lot of those teams, particularly people like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
And they didn't play all those games because, they get nervous around that time, man. They don't want to get hurt, because we've seen some big name players, man, not quarterbacks, but most times like their all-star players get hurt in preseason. And preseason's kind of iffy, man. It's a weird thing when they go out there and play, because you go out there, even if it's just like you going out there and you're going to at least say, okay, we're going to keep playing and see if we can get a touchdown to see what kind of points we get out of it. And y'all run it down the field, and then next thing you know, a person mess up their ACL or anything can happen in those games. So they be on edge.
And you think about it. Like take Green Bay, for example. You got all them new receivers and whatnot. Don't you think it would have been in a better interest for them to get a few snaps together in the preseason?
Absolutely, E. But you know damn well how selfish Aaron Rodgers is. I don't care who love him. I don't care if y'all think he the best thing since sliced bread. I still don't like his attitude. I think he's one of the most selfish people I've ever seen play the game. And I didn't like it.
He's a bad man, but he's also a selfish, arrogant son of a bitch.
Yeah. Remember in training camp how he was loud-mouthing and talking about those guys? He didn't do it as much this time about the players. He tried to be a little bit more lenient since he was on TV and didn't want to play the pointing game. But then again, when one of them plays, man, when a guy missed a wide-open touchdown, you already know he had him by 5 yards and dropped the ball. You can see the emotions, and I feel like
he was pissed.
Aaron Rodgers show out his players. You know how just like
he should have been pissed, too.
But you know what, though, man? There are things that will catch on camera, because after he missed that play, they definitely put the cameras on him, man. And I think that he should have took a step back on that one. But yeah, I definitely would have been pissed, but wouldn't have showed too much emotions like he did on TV, because you don't want to show out those young guys, man. But at the same time, you got to blame a lot on him for not really trying to go out there, and he wasn't doing stuff like a lot of quarterbacks do, man. Russ, when he first went to Denver, he went out there, he got all the receivers, even when they wasn't doing training camp. He took those guys to places, and he was just basically trying to build chemistry. And Tom always does that, man. We can't talk about it this year. That's a whole nother story. But most of the guys, they get their players and they play with them. They try to get acclimated to them, especially if it's new players or if it's a new team, to basically get them to the point where they can get some chemistry chemistry with the guys. And I just feel like Aaron wasn't really trying to do that. But I still feel like they'll catch stride, though. They still got A.J. Dillon, and they got a lot of good players over there, man. They don't have my man Devontae Adams. What was so weird about it is to finally hear him come out and admit, yeah, it's kind of weird not to have him out there, man, when we played. But at the end of the day, you wanted all that money. So, hey, you made your bed. You're going to have to lie with it, buddy.
Look, he cried when he got home. I miss you, Devontae. Will you leave me?
Because he was out there with the Raiders and balling.
Even though they didn't win, that dude Carr is happy. He's so happy he played him to the left.
And you know what's crazy too? That was another good ass game, man. But I just still felt
one of the better games of the week, truth be told.
Carr, man. Did you see the picture I had of Carr, man?
No.
I will send it to you, man. But too many turnovers, man. Too many turnovers, bro. It was just really bad. And when they needed him, that's when them turnovers was happening. And, you know, that's one thing I like about Justin Hibbert, man. He don't make those mistakes. And that's crazy about that kid, too, man, because he's so young, but he doesn't really get too trigger happy and gets beyond himself, man. And that's just really good to me, man.
He's a physical freak, him and Josh Allen. I mean,
man,
yeah. 6', 250, and they both got bazookas for arms. And then if they decide to, you know what, I'll run. And how many people gonna tackle dudes that be? That's like an instant 5 yards off rip.
Thank you for that information too, man, because that's another game I want to talk about, that Thursday night kickoff game. Before we switch to that, let me go back to that Charger game right quick. Keep in mind, I'm still enamored with the fact that whether it's the Chargers or the Rams, even though they're at home, they never seem to truly have a real home field advantage. Especially the team locally, that team show up and show out. Yeah.
You would have swore that was a Raider game.
But you know what, though? It's supposed to be, man. But your boy Al Davis couldn't make up his mind, man. He always was leaving.
No, you would not blame the late, great Al Davis for that. That was his son that moved him out of Oakland.
But he moved them out of L.A., though, E. Remember, they were the Los Angeles Raiders.
But remember, they was the Oakland Raiders first. And he moved them back to Oakland.
Okay. Can't really trip out on him for that. But, yeah, to go all the way to Vegas, I don't think too many of those guys was happy with that whole ordeal neither.
Yeah. Now, granted, that still make them one of the highest ranking franchises in the game with that move, because Vegas is a hot place, okay? And in terms of places to move to, people moving to Vegas in droves.
That's still real crazy, though, man. We knew that was going to be a good game. But, yeah, like you said, man, a lot of people were saying this too, man. The pressure is now on Derek Carr to perform. And, you know, he has the Wallers, and now he have, you know, Devontae Adams, and they always thought he was a good quarterback.
And don't forget that dude Renfro, man. Renfro is the Wes Welker of our time, okay?
Renfro, man, that dude, he one of them sneaky cats, man. And he gritty and get on
catch third down passes, man. I'm telling you.
But they kind of shut him down that game, though, man. You know, you got to get credit to that. And I wish J.C. Jackson played, man. It probably would have been a little more.
And that's the part that really won them that game. That defense looks scary.
Camille back at Joey together, that was ugly, man. That was everywhere. Why did you get in his way, man? He tried to get in his way.
Whatever they wasn't, Derwin James was. That's a scary defense.
Yeah, that is, man. And I just like I was saying, when J.C. Jackson get more help there, man, you got him, Asante Samuel Jr., you know, as cornerbacks. Then you got now Khalil and Bosa, and that's just a really good team, man.
That's a very nice looking defense over there. That's why I feel like we both picked them to go to the Super Bowl, man. I picked them.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Now, keep in mind, I might hedge that bet a little bit after we talk about this next game. That being the Buffalo Rams game you wanted to get into next?
You know, I definitely wanted to talk about that Thursday night game. We kind of figured it was going to be a game where Buffalo won, but they won, and it was just ugly, man. I feel like Stafford was injured, so he didn't get a chance to really play as much
He is
preseason like
hurt.
we're talking about. So
His
yeah, we
team been through long
into
enough
that.
to know Stafford is hurt for real.
But you know how people are, man. I think sometimes the spotlight gets to you, but I still feel like after winning that Super Bowl and having that banner and stuff, sometimes it distracts people, man. And every time I used to see it in the NBA or whether it's the NFL, sometimes the team just get a little beside themselves, man, get a little too comfortable and get popped in the mouth. But we figured they were going to lose, but not get popped in the mouth like that. And I was telling you, Von Miller is going to definitely make all those other guys around him better. And definitely that's what happened because
And
Adrian
I
Phillips.
give credit for that. Like I said, I felt like his overall play wouldn't be a factor, but keep in mind that was based on the Von Miller that I saw. Von Miller wasn't a way back machine. He looked like Texas A&M Von Miller that game. He looked real good.
He was constantly in their face, man. I seen him do the dance like 3, 4 times, and Adrian Phillips was right there too, man. And that was the thing they needed. That was a huge asset to that team because when he went to the Cardinals and when he came back, that rush in the middle, that was getting Stafford, man. And then you had Von.
And the Rams is a Super Bowl winning team. So think about when they play teams like the Jets, how ugly that could get.
And then Ed Oliver too, man. He finally stepped up, man. I've been looking for him for a while now.
Bro, to answer that question, absolutely, I think Buffalo is contenders. No doubt about it. I could definitely see a championship in the AFC between them and the Chargers, or even the Chiefs.
Like they can go all the way.
Yeah, but
That was
I was very impressed with them. I have to be honest,
yeah.
offensively and defensively.
It was a thrashing too, man. It wasn't even
no doubt.
And Cooper Kupp did what Cooper Kupp do, but they said
you got to give Cooper his respect, okay? Because whoever that defense played, Cooper still was uncoverable. And he is not the fastest man. He is not the tallest man. He ain't got the best hands, but somehow, some way, that dude get open. And much like back in the day with Matthew and Calvin Johnson, if that dude get open, Matthew will get it to him.
You know what I want to talk about too in that game? We still gonna keep it on that game. No disrespect to Jalen Ramsey, man. We feel like you one of the best cornerbacks, man, but you were getting cooked that game. He got cooked the Super Bowl, man. He got cooked when they played the Buccaneers with the Mike Evans catch. He's starting to get cooked.
He got barbecued that game.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on, man. He probably not using greater judgment, man. And sometimes when you try to peak too soon and you try to do stuff off instincts, man, you can get burned, man. And I feel like he's trying to do too much and he's overthinking, or he thinking, oh, man, I can sneak up and get this player. I can read the quarterback and see what they're going to do and react. Man, that game, he looked really bad, man. I'm going to show you the stats on that game.
I think what it is he is thinking he is Troy Polamalu. You are not, sir. You are not. You are not Honey Badger. You can't play like them and go off your instincts and make things happen out of nothing. You don't have that type of talent. Your job is to play within the realm of your defense.
This is his stats from week 1. Ramsey allowed a perfect passing rating of 158.3 in week 1. That's his initial grading. He was targeted 7 times, allowing 6 receptions for 124 yards and 2 scores.
They lit that ass up. Just like Justin Jefferson did with the Packers. He lit that ass up.
Hey, man, that dude need to figure out what he making too much money for his teeth to be looking like that, man. I'm just saying.
You ain't liking the diamond, gold, platinum fronts or whatever the hell they is.
I seen his teeth. I was like, man, what the hell? that dude look like somebody out of a horror movie, man.
Okay, what's worse, his teeth or KD's head?
I'm gonna go with KD's head all day.
There it is.
You stupid. But yeah, man, I wanted, I had to talk about that game too with the Vikings and Packers, man. I just feel like that game, I felt like it was just something missing from, my man's Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, man, with fantasy, man, I didn't look too good this week, man. I lost by a few points because I still feel like when T. Higgins got hurt, that messed me up in fantasy. But we ain't gonna talk about that. But man, I just felt like I started Kirk Cousins, man. That's who I had as my quarterback this week, and man, he torched them guys, man. And it's like we know that they got Jair Alexander, and he one of the better cornerbacks in the game. But like you said, man, it looked like he was non-existent. He got cooked, man. How many? He had like 184 yards, Justin Jefferson. And he had 2 touchdowns off of that too, man. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was on like 9 receptions.
It was something to that effect, yeah.
Yeah, that was ugly, man. I thought he was definitely going to pass 200 at one point. They were trying to get Adam Thielen in the game, and it didn't work out as well. They know who their star is. And
let me shout out AJ Brown while we on the subject, talking about good receiver play for week 1. Because he did torch the Lions.
You know what's crazy about that too, was the fact that I feel like it was close at first. They were just going blow for blow, and then it just got kind of out of hand at one point. But then it was like the cardiac Lions, how they do, or they call them the cardiac cats. They made it a game just to lose in the end, man. It's like you never know what team's going to be out there.
Man, the Lions will be a better team this year. But the reason why they will not win is because of that defense. They did not upgrade the defense enough. And again, for those people already on Aiden Hutchinson, expecting him to have like 3-4 sacks game 1, relax, okay? That dude will be all right. It's the rest of that defense you need to be worried about.
Watching Hard Knocks, that was the whole Achilles heel of our team. They were so pissed off. The defensive coordinator was pissed off with the way they played, man, because they didn't play great, man. He cursed them out all the time because Jared Goff had his way the whole time. And I was like, man, this offense looked pretty good, on Hard Knocks. They didn't look that bad that game neither. It was just the one interception.
100% healthy on the offensive line, and we did that. So we get a couple of other things worked out.
Wasn't his fault neither. That tip drill, that was just good defensive play. But like you said, AJ Brown had his way, man. And then, it got to the point where they had 3 running backs, man, just running in on us. And I was like, damn, where is that defense? And
Jalen Hurts, he looked real good.
He do, man. He made me proud, man. He came from the factory, but he had the he needed the weapon. He had the weapons he needed. And he played like he should have played, man, because a lot of pressure's on him and Tua Tagovailoa, and they showed too, man. The cheetah really helped him out, man. He looked good, man. That game, he was slinging it all over the place. And Waddle, man, and I just really feel like with New England too, the issue has been the fact that they're trying to implement a new offense. They're trying to put in something new, and it's not working for them. And now they got 2 different coordinators trying to.
That's the problem. Who's the main offensive coordinator for New England right now?
It should be Coach Belichick.
It should be, but let me give you a hint.
That pencil, and you know how to pencil it. I still don't got no love for the pencil after the Super Bowl, man.
No. You know I can't stand that dude. I would fire him game 1 when he was the coach of the Lions. I wouldn't let him nowhere near my offense.
It was ugly, man. It was bad. I was surprised they scored, man. And when Ty Montgomery scored, he ended up getting injured and getting put out the rest of the game. But yeah, that was just really ugly, man. And it's gonna be a long.
And they said Mac Jones hurt right now, so we got to see how that play out.
And like you said, man, Bill Belichick's been great, man. He's one of the best coaches that we have, and I think his time is starting to come up, man, because his draft picks, man. Look at all the draft picks that are gone, man. it's nobody left. So yeah, I don't see it.
On the clock, Belichick is definitely on the clock. All right, what else you got for you?
What surprised me too was that Colts game, man. Them tying with the Texans. That really caught me off guard, man. Because
I don't know what it is, but like I said, I wasn't overly impressed with them in the preseason. Remember, Lions played them pretty good in the preseason, and
they did.
That game, we didn't really play too much of nobody, so that's when I knew the coach was in trouble.
And another game that surprised me, man, was that Giants-Titans game. That was actually not, because you're starting to see who Tannehill really is. But the Giants and the way they played and the way they hung in there and pulled that game out, they went for 2 for the win.
That is why you played the game. That is why you played the game. That was definitely one of them games that I put a quick dollar on, and I lost that dollar real quick because the Giants basically saw that they was close and was like, you know what, we can win this thing. And they went little Giants on their ass and pulled it out.
Yeah, big ups to Brian Daboll in that game, man, too, man, because my man's actually didn't look that bad the game either, man. Daniel Jones.
He looked better than old boy in Denver did. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, he did. He looked really okay. I was really shocked to see how well they played. Look at my boy, too, man. I was like, damn. The last time I had him on my team, he got hurt for the rest of the season. But Saquon, man, he balled his ass off that game.
Indeed, he did. He looked like the Saquon that they signed up for. So, that being said, I ain't worried about the Titans too much. They're not in the best division, and they ain't even get Henry going like they could have. So, there'll be games where they're going to steamroll some people. You already know that. Once King Henry gets going.
I looked in on the games too, man. It's going to be some really bad games. This week is the first time I've ever seen in the NFL that it's going to look like a college.
Now, you made that same mistake last week talking about them college games. And you see what we ended up with? That was one of the better seasons of college football you will ever see. So please, let's not sell them short. And second of all, any given Sunday. The NFL done proved us that time and time again. So that being said, what games have you concerned you?
One game, man, I got my fingers crossed on, man, that I'm not going to count those in before they hatches of that Lions-Commanders game, us having them at home.
Keep in mind, this is the first time in 25 weeks that the Lions have been favored to win a game. Longest in the history of sports betting, that has been the case. Now, that sets us up to lose right off rip. You know that. But that being said, I do not see the Lions losing 2 back-to-back home games. And the Commanders, yeah, they played the Jaguars decent, but keep in mind, it's still the Jaguars. They did have the worst record in the league last year.
Absolutely.
Much like the Lions, they will be better too. But that being said, the Lions got to win this game. I'm sorry. This is a must-win for the Lions. And they need to come in the game with that approach. If they do that, they will beat this 2.5-point spread. That's why I'm definitely going to put a couple ducats on them.
Because if they don't, it's going to be a long season, buddy.
But you know that goes against my whole thing of betting on or against the Lions.
That Chargers and Chiefs game, the Thursday night football, really was the one I wanted.
One of the better games of the season. No doubt in my mind. It should be close. I can't even pick that one. I'm not betting on that one. You know, I didn't pick the Chargers to go to Super Bowl and win. You know, Kansas City is my family's team. Shout out to the fam. What up, Bucks? But
and they at home too.
Right. Like I said, if you twisted my arm, I'd have to pick the Chiefs because they at home. But I still say it's gonna be a close game. I definitely see this being a shootout. Some like 38-35, something along them lines. Or maybe like that game a couple years ago. What team was that? That was the Rams and Kansas City. When they had that shootout, it could be a game similar to that.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at that Bucks and Saints game too, due to the fact that the Saints are at home, and then it's like Brady. It's kind of like when he was with the Miami Dolphins.
One team they just don't play good with.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay is Minnesota. For damn Dallas is damn Philadelphia. For the Bucks, it's the Saints. It don't matter who at quarterback. It don't matter what's going on. The Bucks always have a hard time with the Saints, especially at home. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints win that game. I don't think they will, but again, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, especially with that front, man, that they have too, man. It just seems like no matter how well the Buccaneers play and how good they are, it just seems like they never show up for them, man. I have them by 3, but like you said, once we come back on the show,
that is
be
the bet
surprised.
line, Tampa by 3. So you right on the money with that.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't come out on top.
What's your thoughts on New England, Pittsburgh?
New England, Pittsburgh, man, that's going to be one of those games. It's going to be real iffy, man. I'm surprised they got New England by 2. They're on the road too, but then that whole TJ Watt thing is an X factor, man, because New England defense didn't play bad. It was just the offense wasn't good, But yeah, man, I still feel like with that one being in Pittsburgh, I would be surprised if Pittsburgh lose. But at the same time, too, man, I'd be surprised if Mitch Trubisky had back-to-back good games, man. So, yeah.
I picked the Steelers just on the strength of Coach Tomlin wanting to show and prove, but that's, again, a game I would not put no money on. I don't trust it.
The Dolphins and the Ravens intrigue me. Yeah, it's going to be Baltimore at home, but it's an intriguing game because
that might mess around and be a good game,
Yeah, because the Dolphins' defense is really excellent, man. And Tua, now he got that new weapon too, man. Not only did he got the cheetah, but he got a dude just as fast over there. And one of the factory kids, Jalen Waddle, man. I want to see how they do, and I want to see how Tua hold up this game because Baltimore is still that gritty team they always been. So that's
Baltimore's plan gonna be to get the ball and run the ball. So a team like Miami that's looking to be explosive offensively, that's the best way to play. So if they can implement that, then yeah, I can see them winning that game. Again, they got Baltimore by 3.5. I think I still go with the Ravens. I don't know if I take the points though.
Nah, I go with like maybe a little under that, 2.5, maybe 3.
I think I bet money line on the Ravens just to win it outright.
Man, that Rams-Falcons game will get ugly, man, because they're going to take out that week 1 loss against the Falcons because the Falcons played the Saints real good, man, and they just didn't have enough to beat the Saints. And a field goal ended up having them pull that game out. But, yeah, I think that's going to be a whipping. I have that by 11-point favorite. They have it by 10.5, but I got that by 11.
Yep. I say it's only one game that I'm pretty sure I want to bet on for sure next week, and that's that Denver Texans game. Russ ain't going out like that, okay?
And that's
in Denver, I see them open a complete can of whoop ass on the Texans.
Yep. And then, I still feel like your boy Aaron Rodgers going to take it out on the Bears.
Yep. Considering it's in Green Bay, they always play well in Green Bay, especially if you're Aaron Rodgers. So, again, I don't think I would go with the 10 points, but I definitely would go with Green Bay to win, straight up. Because
like he said, he owned the Bears, man. That's a team the Bears don't play well against.
True.
That Cardinals game, I just don't – I feel like without D-Hop, man, that's not even the same team. They're a shell of themselves. So I'm not even going to go 5 points, man. I'm going to go 7 points on that one with the Raiders.
Yeah, I got a line of 6 here. I'm definitely going with the Raiders to win that game, but I don't know if I go with that 6. I go with them to win straight up again, but that 6 kind of shaky.
And after what happened to Dak, man, and they actually have the Bengals beating the Cowboys at home by 7.5.
Cooper Rush is the quarterback. Cooper Rush is the quarterback. And he's throwing to Cooper Rush is the quarterback, and he's throwing to deep CeeDee Lamb and who?
Gallup ain't playing, so yeah, good question.
So that I understand it's in Dallas, so that get them a little up. But again, they got this as a 7.5 point one. No, I don't think it's gonna be that. But yeah, I definitely think Cincinnati winning that one.
I look at it.
I would go if I was betting to the people that like to put some on it. I definitely would take the Broncos. I'd take Cincinnati, and I most definitely would take the Rams against the Falcons. Them would be the 3 games I would go.
What about the 49ers versus the Seahawks? You got that? Do you still got that 8.5 favor?
I don't know, man. I must admit, I was trying to not pay as much attention to all the Trey Lance may not be ready talk, but I don't know, man. Seattle a little bit better than I thought they was, and 49ers a little bit worse than I thought they was. So,
and if Geno Smith,
49ers should win that game, but I don't know if they just outright win that game.
I got the 49ers by 4, man, not 5 or none of that, man. They got about 8.5. That's too much to me.
I'd go with that. I'd go with that 4.
That Colts and Jags game, man, they got Indiana by 4.5. No, they got about 4, actually. I'm sorry, E. That can possibly happen because the Jags are still the Jags. The Jags came out there and they played their butts off. But I feel like the Colts just have a little bit more, man. And I still feel like the Colts could have won that game against the Texans if Rodrigo Blankenship didn't botch that kick. And you know what happened to him after that, E? He out here looking for the guy as we speak.
All right, so before we head out, I'm going to give you a couple college football games. You tell me what you think. Now, we already know, we ain't got to talk about the factory. They are playing who? UL Monroe. The line on that game is 49.
Damn.
They will beat that spread, people. They will beat that spread. That's all need to be said on that one. Georgia's playing South Carolina. That should be a decent game. You know, Georgia wins that by 3.5 touchdowns. Michigan, UConn next. Oklahoma facing a new coach in Nebraska. They got Oklahoma by 11. Again, I'd go with Oklahoma all day, even though it is in Nebraska. And they got new coach, still got that same team. I think Oklahoma opens a can of whoop ass on them. Baylor's playing Texas State. They got Baylor by 30. Yeah. All right, BYU and Oregon, them 2 ranked teams. What do you think of that, Hugh?
I definitely want to check that out. Surprisingly, too, they got Oregon by 3.5, man. I feel like Oregon's okay, but they're not as good as we thought they'd be. And like you said, man, one of the things that I looked at is Nix being a quarterback, man. I do not trust Nix. I feel like he give the ball up too much. And I definitely feel like that they won't win that game because he'll figure out a way to cost them to lose that game.
Right. And the only other game on here I see what we're talking about is Texas A&M trying to redeem themselves against Miami.
That's going to be a decent one too, man. I want to see that one. They have Texas A&M by like 5.5. I could go with that because I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back games. But then I said that about Notre Dame too. So nothing surprised me in college. But, yeah, I definitely had Texas A&M winning at home.
All right, now that being said, much like last week, you got a lot of those cupcake games this week, and I think it's going to go more the way you thought it was last week because after seeing them upsets this week, teams ain't going to be taking teams for granted this week. So, teams like Michigan playing Connecticut and Ohio State playing Toledo, yeah, look for them to run their asses up.
Yeah, this week gonna get ugly. A lot of it is gonna be people just taking it out on their opponent, man, for losing those last games, the games that we felt like they wasn't gonna lose.
Right, and remember, after this week, we got a lot of people starting conference play next week. So if you look at it in terms of these are preseason scrimmage games, you might as well go ahead and see what you got on second string and third string. See if the water boy can kick a 40 right quick. Get all that's out of the way before the real season starts.
Because that was funny. You say that too, that the guy Kansas City kicker got hurt, and then their cornerback Justin Reed, then he didn't look that bad as part person who served in that role.
Not at all. And like I said, I think you're gonna start to see now that we got the transfer portal and the NIL deals, you're gonna start to see a lot more people wanting to play multiple positions, want to get their Charles Woodson on, so to speak. I do believe Michigan got a couple players like that that's playing offense and defense. So we might see more of them, particularly in a game like the UConn game. Why not?
Yeah, we in for a treat too, man. To that Thursday game, it's gonna be pretty cool to get that one that early. A game that good that early, man. First, we already had the Bills and the Rams, and now we got this one. Yeah, man. I feel like as NFL fans, man, we spoiled.
Well,
Definitely.
that being said, y'all, for those of you that's gonna be looking for that game tomorrow, it's not gonna be on your usual spots. It's gonna be on Amazon Video. So remember, if you have an Amazon subscription, Amazon Prime, you automatically have Amazon Video. So make sure you utilize that for a change. I know a lot of us that got the Amazon Prime, we don't look at them movies or the TVs and all that other extra stuff we get. This is the time to utilize that. And if you don't have that, then your next option is to get that NFL Plus. One of my friends showed me what it was like. It's very interactive, much like that WNBA app. You definitely might want to go ahead and invest that $4.99 or $9.99 into it. They give you a lot. Plus, you get NFL Network free with that when you pay the $4.99 or $9.99. And you know they always talking football. So if you're a huge football fan like us, that's definitely something you might want to invest in.
And that's funny too for the people who was paying all that money for NFL Sunday ticket and all these other prices on stuff, and you can just pay now like the NFL's price at $4.99 if you want to, or $9.99, which is not bad because $9.99.
That's affiliated to the NFL. I think it's brilliant. I think all the other major sports need to invest in that as well. The NBA needs to do it. NHL definitely need to do it, and MLB might as well follow suit. So yeah. I think that's the wave of the future, people.
Yeah, because some of these stuff like the MLB, extra innings and like the NBA pass and like the NFL signing ticket, a lot of that stuff too expensive, man. If
right.
you can break it.
You even have Apple TV right now. They give you a daily update of all the ML games, condensed version, and that's only like $5.99. Plus, you get all the other stuff on Apple TV, so that might be a good investment too.
And then Peacock got the Sunday night games and stuff. So yeah, man, a lot of these people trying to put their hand in a cookie jar, man, and solidify their stations to keep people coming, man, so they can get the viewership, man. I think that's a good
time. You probably have individual teams doing their own streaming network. I think that's the next move. I know somewhere down the line Notre Dame may pull that off at some point. Remember, they damn near had that going when they was exclusively on NBC like that.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a good time in season two, man. We were just talking about it, man. We're getting closer to October. We're getting close to the baseball playoffs. Then we're going to still have college and we're going to have NFL. We got all those intertwined. So
and keep in mind, preseason of the NBA is like middle of October.
Yep.
And before you know it, you got NBA. Then a couple weeks after that, you got college basketball. We starting to get to that good time of the year for sports, man.
We have so much sports, man. It's the best time of the year once the fall hits. So, yeah, definitely can't wait.
Well, that being said, we're going to give you more what you need next week. We're about to call it a night. Good job, Hugh, as always.
Appreciate that, brother.
Yep. Remember, hold on for a minute. Don't dip out. We need to have
a
meeting. But for the rest of y'all, we're going to let y'all go. Thanks again for joining. Thank you to Mr. Morgan, Rowe, to G-Ma Nelson, and of course to you, Will Muhammad, for chiming into the show. We will catch you guys again next week. Until then, be safe, be blessed. Where the fingers at, Hugh? Where the fingers at, bro? Throw them up, baby. Hold on, what that? There it is. We out.
Till next week.
Gametime Audible is a Nighthawk Network presentation.